Carry on from this masterpiece of modern art here, and we're going to look at the bucket tool. So I'm over here on the side, and the bucket tool is also paired with the gradient tool. So if you can't see it right away, you might have to click on it, and it's the little obvious bucket here. So when I click on that, I got a couple options. I'm going to sample from the foreground color, which right now is red, so I think I'm going to change that color to add some blue, just to really make this look ugly. And now you get a couple options. You'll notice that the mode is similar to brushes. You get a whole bunch of other options. Again, as you do more with Photoshop, you'll get to experience what some of these modes do. Some of them, I recommend you just go in and play and see what happens, because it's not always easy to see how they're going to interact with different colors. The opacity, we've already talked about that with brushes. That's going to be how dense the bucket fill is going to go on. Tolerance is the one I want to look at right here. I'm going to click this down to 1. So what it's going to do is it's only going to affect colors that are one number or 1 degree away from the color I have. So if I, let's try in here. Okay, so I went inside the eraser mark from last time. You'll notice how it doesn't fill in all the way to the edges as much as we would expect. So that's because I only have a tolerance of 1. So I'm just going to undo that, and I'm going to crank this tolerance up to 50 now. So now you can think of it's going to move about 50 points away from that, and we'll see how much it fills in. Okay, so notice it grabbed more of the white now. So as I back up, I'm going to go one more time. I'm going to go to 100 and click, and now I even have more of the edge white color. So that's what tolerance does. It allows you to control how much the bucket fill is going to fill in. And you can just start clicking in different places and seeing. So 100 on the outside white there grabs just about everything. It doesn't grab in here because it's bounded by colors on all sides, so it can't sneak through there. This is a safe place. But if I click in here, it'll fill it eventually. So that's bucket fill. Gradient, we might as well do while we're here. Your gradient tool will mix your foreground and your background colors. That's what you're seeing here. If you click on the down arrow, you get some other presets that are already put in there. You can do a left to right gradient. So I'm going to just change some colors here just to make this look a little more interesting. So I'll go yellow, and I'm going to take a background color of, let's go cyan or something here to make it really ugly. So I have a gradient here. I think it's called a linear gradient, and I'll drag that across. And you'll notice it does different things with the length of how much I drag. So if I just drag a very tiny line, it's going to go from foreground color to background color, okay, in a very short span. So you'll notice there's my foreground color, the yellow, my background color, the green. If I stretch that line out further, okay, it spreads the gradient or the transition over out longer. You can go right off the screen. You don't have to be actually on the diagram for the gradient to work. Just like that. You can do it on a diagonal, okay, and change the appearance. There's also a radial, which makes circles. If you hit reverse, you're actually going to go from background to foreground. So now I have a blue inside. Dither, if you just mouse over dither, it's usually the edges of the banding, I guess. Again, I never touch these two, I just leave them on. Opacity maybe sometimes. This is kind of a funky one. Kind of goes around in a little loop. This is another banded one where it goes foreground, or background, foreground, background, depending what you have. And then there's a diamond shape. Just fun things to play with. If you want to make a custom gradient, don't click on the arrow. Click actually on the color, and you'll get this little screen. Right now it's foreground to background, and it goes from 2 different colors. I can add a 3rd color. This top little markers here, these are for measuring opacity, and the bottoms are for measuring color. So I could add another color in here. So if I double click on that, it brings up the color palette, and I could put a red in there if I like. And you'll notice now I have a 3-banded gradient. Okay, and again, I can play with the opacity. I can turn this down if I put it in the middle here, and I can turn the opacity right down. It could make a blank spot, but then it goes from 100% opacity to 49, back up to 100. So you could make a lot of custom gradients here. Once you've made it, you can give it a name, custom 1, and you hit save. Okay, and that'll add it to, oh, you'll have a chance to save it to your hard drive. I'm not going to bother, but it'll add it to your presets in here, and then you can use it at a later date, or if you really like it, just make a whole bunch of them and keep them on hand. So I'm going to end with a rainbow here, and I'll just drag that across, and there's my pretty rainbow. And that's a quick overview of bucket and gradient fill.